This is Informer News, your voice of the people. Timeline is Sunday, the 15th of December, 2013. Welcome along, my friends, to another edition of Informer News. Coming up in this week's broadcast, alarming footage has surfaced showing HERCOLUBUS, better known as NIBIRU, creeping closer to the sun. This footage should set off alarm bells ringing. Was icing a deliberate effect created by NASA to deflect from the incoming dangerous NIBIRU? Plus, Ison's debris field is 1 million miles across, and Earth will go through this debris field around the 28th of this month. And the secret of the ages, the extraterrestrials' presence in our solar system and on planet Earth. Okay, into this week's news. This following report originates from thinkaboutit.com, titled 70 Civilizations from Other Planets on Earth. According to a videotape made by former CIA agent John Lear, based upon what he said he witnessed from military intelligence with top-secret security clearances, there are about 70 different extraterrestrial civilizations that have been monitoring the Earth, based on interviews by civilian UFO researchers from civilian professional UFO research organizations. There have been people reporting abductions by beings from at least 40 other planets, although the negative experiences seem to be confined to about 6 prominent planets in both studies. The other reported beamed up or taken up experiences and land encounters have involved entities either friendly or neutral who are studying us, much like our own scientists study primitive natives in jungles. There have been reported contacts with beings from 4 other planets in our solar system, including a transparent green ethical energy formation being allegedly from Saturn, and a tall physical pure white humanoid claiming to be from Uranus. The beings claiming to be from Mars and Venus are human in appearance, yet are based in spaceports enclosed in protective force fields on those worlds, and they represent colonizations from other star systems rather than native indigenous life. There are also reportedly physical being colonies on some of the huge moons orbiting Jupiter and Saturn that even NASA admits contain atmospheres and water, including Lanoleus, Titan, Io, Ganymede, etc. One of the moons of Jupiter is allegedly a capital planet for an interplanetary federation in our solar system. There are reported alien space bases on the dark side of the moon, where Greys operate, as well as on certain large asteroids and one of Uranus's moons. The Department of Interplanetary Affairs has summarized research on planets with reported physical beings civilizations in other star systems, such as the Coradians that Bob Renard was reportedly in radio and face-to-face contact with, the Caucasians that a group in South Africa claim radio and meeting contact with, CE3S, the Occitans that a group in North Carolina claim physical contact and transport to their planet in dealing with this race, and the Akaturians. The Occitans are said to be a short, humanoid, bird-like alien, extremely friendly and spiritually orientated, from a planet of prismatic domed communities of crystalline material surrounded by crystal forests emanating rainbow-colored auroras permeated by the harmonics of the music of the spheres. These ETs are said to be helping small numbers of humans on Earth with divine guidance, very low key, and they have taken many small children from here to their planet for schooling, where they viewed a destiny screen showing future Earth events, many of which have already come true. The events of the late part of this decade and early 20th century on the destiny screen present widespread planetary disasters. This is a fairly common warning and was even given to the Pentagon leaders in the early 1950s by the negative grey aliens, led by Kirill from the Zeta Orion invasion. Warnings of widespread Earth catastrophes in the next 20 years were common in the 1950s, from extraterrestrials claiming to be based on Venus, Mars, planets in the Pleiades through the 1970s, and some other solar systems. Many of the events these aliens reportedly prophesied in the 1950s and 1980s have already come true, including several famines, floods, earthquakes, wars, etc. The Chaldeans, who reportedly look so much like we do that they could walk into a supermarket incognito, say they were recently nuked on their own planet in an interplanetary war that resulted in negative aliens invading their territory. Their leader on their Earth mission, Valdar, who reportedly met on a South African beach with Earth contacts and also had radio contacts, details another type of interplanetary confederation. Koldas is a member of in lengthy writings by Carl van Wilden. Valdar warns Earth not to make the same mistakes taking place in their solar system. Similar warnings came from the Corradians, who reportedly look exactly like us, humans, except that they are only about 3 to 4 feet tall and live on a planet 6 times the size of Earth, with oceans and many more continents, which I have a map of and a copy of their reported language, alphabet, measurement system and register of nearby inhabited planets. Carl Wilden even produced photos of Chaldean spaceships, just like Bob Reynolds did with the Corradian spaceships, which look like daytime disc-shaped flying objects. Meanwhile, we hear about beings from Arcturus, who are small humanoid greenish beings, semi-physical, who are so far beyond us spiritually, technologically and mentally we can barely comprehend these entities. They say they guide certain people through channeling spiritual advice, and on their own planet they have none of our physical or emotional problems. Like most of other advanced races, they live in crystal domes, in a Garden of Eden-like paradise, with music beautiful beyond our comprehension, scenery beautiful beyond our dreams, and no pollution or disease. They do not want to get involved in our wars. Then even further beyond our reports of beings from Andromeda Galaxy, who are light energy bodies who teleport or project anywhere in galaxies and can manifest physically as anything from a humanoid being to a goddess to a tree or a symbolic animal. There are also beings found in crashed flying saucers who are so ugly by military standards that they have disguised their true looks with a super tight fitting, very rare looking organic suit that resembles a better looking alien than they themselves really are. Or they surround themselves with laser holographs that look so real that witnesses believe these aliens look like humans rather than monsters or little demons. According to decades of painstaking research by scientists like Jacques Vallée and researchers like John Keel, many of the elves, trolls, fairies, menahunis and other so-called mythological creatures of old were really aliens using these disguises to manipulate the cultures of those times in a form more easily relevant in those centuries. There were also monster, flying dragons and serpents and other monsters, spitting fires, who were the creation of aliens using laser holograms to fool primitive societies. And there are also reports of part human, part animal, fish, bird, reptiles, creatures that are actually bizarre genetic creations of bizarre real-life forms, real scary creatures of the night. James Forstall was our Secretary of Defense before he was illegally committed to a mental institute after being abducted by a UFO and talking to many people about it. His diary stated a report about one of the aliens found in the Roswell crash and how it looks like something from hell. The diary also told of human body parts found in crashed UFOs piloted by Greys. James was thrown out of a skyscraper by CIA agents before he could tell the story he wanted to tell before Congress and at a press conference. However, apart from very early earthly interaction from Vega and Lyra realms, the dominant replaying major alien interaction on our planet for the last 100,000 years involves the Sirians, Pleiadians, Orions, Zetas, Centurions since 15,000 BC only, and last but not least, a race we have not yet covered, the Nibirians. If you are not familiar with those other races, please read Volume 3 of this series about interplanetary colonization, about the history of the Golden Ages, and how there is no shortage of ancient writings to prove this story really happened. Zecharia Sitchin has spent decades as an archaeologist and historian in the Middle East, researching ancient writings from the Sumerian civilization into a 5-part paperback series documenting the Nibirian interaction on Earth in ancient times. If you want the truth, please read this series. It is so well documented, it has been given great reviews in the establishment news media, something von Däniken never attained. Sitchin reports the Nibirians are from an ancient 12th planet in our solar system called Nibiru, and that they landed on Earth in prehistoric times, hundreds of thousands of years ago, and mined the Earth for gold and other minerals, established a spaceport in what today is the Iraq-Iran area, and lived a kind of idealistic society as a small colony. They returned when Earth was more populated and genetically interfered in our indigenous DNA to create a slave race to work their mines, farms and other enterprises in Sumeria, which was the so-called cradle of civilization in outdated pre-1980s school history texts. Later on, the Nibirians also used behind-the-scenes power players to manipulate the Egyptians and certain other empires along with the Syrians. They played gods too, and played a heavy ruling hand in Babylonia, Persia, Mesoamerica and other lands, using their advanced technology to make primitive peoples believe they were gods. This next report should really make you sit up and take notice. New images of a massive object that NASA airbrushed out, but footage did leak out and 4 officials lost their jobs because of it. While the world was focused on Ison's approach to the Sun, from the left you can see this massive object approaching, coming in towards the Sun. Some estimates claim this object is 6 times the size of Jupiter. This footage should set alarm bells ringing to you all. This footage, I believe, is HERCOLUBUS, better known as Nibiru. And now a personal message to all those nasty trolls that have been attacking myself and good informers. You now have egg on your brain-dead heads. And now to my many supporters and followers of Informer News throughout the years. My friends, if you saw my video about preparing for this coming Nibiru event last week, you should now, without doubt, start your preparations. This coming event is real, and you know it. Today, I went down the town where I live. People were just busy Christmas shopping without a care in the world. I felt like shouting to them all, wake up, your cozy lives are about to change in a dramatic way. They have no idea what's coming. Also Ison, which I've always said was a front runner to the arrival of Nibiru. It has emerged that Ison's debris field is 1 million miles across, and Earth will go through this debris field around the 28th of this month. So expect many massive objects coming through the Earth's atmosphere, and some will reach terra firma. My friends, time is of the essence. To be frank, you either prepare or die. That's the stark choice. And finally, watch your leaders if you live near the many deep underground military bases, especially in the United States. report any activity showing signs the elite and government figures are heading towards these dumbs. This could be the sign this event is about to occur. Okay, my friends, you're all invited to join this channel by subscribing to End Times 23, which is a totally free subscription service. You're also invited to add me as a friend on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. If you'd like to drop me a line on my blog, by all means do so. And if you'd like to join one of my circles on Google+, the links are under this video, my friends. All this week's news links can be found on my website, endtimes23.com. The link is under this video. Just click on the link and go to the top left hand corner of the opening page and click on the Informer News link. You'll find all this week's news links at the top of the page under this week's title video. Well, that's your lot for this week, my friends. I do hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be back with you in a week's time with another edition of Cosmic News. So until then, this is your Informer signing off. Friends, I'll see you on the flip side. Seem to be confined to about 6 prominent planets in both studies. The other reported beamed up or taken up experiences and land encounters have involved entities either friendly or neutral who are studying us, much like our own scientists study primitive natives in jungles. There have been reported contacts with beings from 4 other planets in our solar system, including a transparent 2013. Welcome along, my friends, to another edition of Informer News. Coming up in this week's broadcast, alarming footage has surfaced showing HERCOLUBUS, better known as NIBIRU, creeping closer to the sun. This footage should set off alarm bells ringing. Was icing a deliberate effect created by NASA to deflect from the incoming dangerous NIBIRU? Plus, Ison's debris field is 1 million miles across, and Earth will go through this debris field around the 28th of this month. And the secret of the ages, the extraterrestrials' presence in our solar system and on planet Earth. Okay, into this week's news. This following report originates from thinkaboutit.com, titled 70 Civilizations from Other Planets on Earth. According to a videotape made by former CIA agent John Lear, based upon what he said he witnessed from military intelligence with top secret security clearances, there are about 70 different extraterrestrial civilizations that have been monitoring the Earth, based on interviews by civilian UFO researchers from civilian professional UFO research organizations. There have been people reporting abductions by beings from at least 40 other planets. Although the negative experience This is Informer News, your voice of the people. Timeline is Sunday the 15th of December.